Welcome to Transform with Taz. Today I'm really excited. I'm going to take one of my mom's recipes and I'm going to tweak it a little bit. Also, we've got some great interviews coming up. So for those who don't know what the premise of the show is, I take that good old food that we shouldn't eat, that's good, bad food, and I try to make it a little healthier. And then after feeding our bodies, I try to feed our souls. So today we're going to be making my mom's broccoli casserole. So hang tight and we'll be back and we'll get started.
Dr. Teresa A. Smith, also known as Dr. Taz, Graves' disease and gastric sleeve surgery protein-focused home cook and talk show host, feeds your physical, mental, and spiritual body. Time to transform with Taz.
Well, we're going to be making my mom's broccoli casserole. And because I wanted to really just sort of show you how we put everything together, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I've already done. As you can see, the steam is coming off of this pot, so you know this is freshly done. My dad grows vegetables, and so I've never seen broccoli grown before, about a couple months ago. But he's growing broccoli again right now, so I've got fresh broccoli that I basically had boiling water, and then I cut off most of the stems and I blanched the broccoli for maybe about 3 to 4 minutes. I let it sit maybe another minute in the hot water, and then I drained the water off. I did put salt in the water, okay? So it's got some salt. Then what I decided to do was, okay, you know, I like to melt my cheese. So what I did was I'm gonna grab this and slide this over here a little bit. Handle's not hot. I took some cream of mushroom soup and I decided that I was gonna melt my cheese. Now, you know, cheese really by itself is not so bad for us. So what I did was I took a half a block of mozzarella cheese and I melted it. Then I took a half a block of extra sharp cheddar, because we really like cheddar in my house. And so I melted it also. I put a little black pepper in here. Hopefully I put enough. I didn't want to overpower anything. And so then, because I wanted this to be really creamy, I added probably about, let's say a half a cup of ricotta cheese. Normally my mom would not put ricotta cheese in here, but I wanted to add something to kind of break up just your typical cheddar cheese. And that's the reason I also added the mozzarella, because mozzarella, as I always will keep saying, is made from partially skimmed milk. So therefore it's a healthier version of cheese. So I melted all of this together, and then I put about 1/4 of a cup of melted light margarine, because I had to have some light margarine. And I also added some garlic powder and some onion powder. I like garlic and I like onion powder. I don't know if Mother even puts that in hers, but I know that those are two things that really accent our broccoli. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some cheese to these florets. And I'm not quite sure. You know, I have a tendency to still cook as if I was that little girl in my parents' house and I'm cooking for 4 people. And so what I find is anytime I'm really cooking real food, I cook too much. And so those of you who've been watching the show, you've seen me do that when I've made, I think it was the very first show, I made meatloaf, turkey meatloaf with pork sausage. And believe it or not, I had extra meatloaf mixture, so I had to bake that in a different dish. Then I made bread pudding, that chocolate bread pudding that I was amazed at, because I don't like chocolate, and I had extra chocolate bread pudding mixture too, so I had to bake that in a separate dish. So I looked at my cheese sauce and I thought, you're gonna have extra, and I'm correct, but that's all right, because I don't throw anything away. We'll figure out a way to use it. So if you see here, I have mixed my broccoli casserole. So I've taken my cheese mixture and I have now mixed it with the broccoli florets. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this square casserole dish and I'm going to put the broccoli and cheese here. Okay? And I'm just going to pour it in. Now, of course, depending upon how much broccoli you're making, that really does determine the size of your dish. But I didn't want to make too much because, as I say all the time, you know, I eat small portions and it would take me quite some time to consume this. Now, I am the queen of freezing, don't get me wrong, because I want good food and sometimes it takes a lot of ingredients to get your food good. Oh, I forgot something. I just saw it. So I freeze those things. I freeze it because I want my food good. I forgot to tell you. I also sauteed some onions. I sauteed the onions and I added my onions into my cheese mixture because I knew that I was going to mix everything together. So now, let's see if we can find my small spatula. Okay. I tell you, it's so good when everything is right here and it's handy. Okay. So I'm scraping this cheese off of here. Now, the other little twist that I'm going to do to this is, and I know somebody says she didn't make much of that at all. I'm trying to do better. Hopefully I'll do better from now on. I won't have so much left over. So we're going to put that right there for a moment. We're going to put that there. Don't you fall off. You know it's going to fall off. So we're going to put it right here. Okay. What I want to do is I'm just going to shake this just to sort of level it out. As you can see, my broccoli is still somewhat firm. The little florets have begun to meld with the cheese. Well, my trick is going to be, I'm going to put what my mom would normally put, which is fried onions. And I'm going to sprinkle some because I like to have a crunch and I like to have the texture difference. That's the reason that crunch is so important. But in addition to the crunch, what I have done is I have ground up wheat thins. But these are veggie wheat thins because I'm still trying to be on the healthy side and they're made with whole grains. So I'm going to just sprinkle this there too. So it'll fall in the cracks where the onion isn't at. Now somebody say, so you put double onions? Yeah, you got to saute some onions too because you need that. Oh, you see those bigger flakes of my wheat thins where it did not crumble all the way. Just adding to the crunch. But that lets you know that I'm not fibbing because they didn't get broken up enough. Now I'm going to go back and just sprinkle some more onions. Oh, I can't wait to taste this. Oops, you see that big old onion fall out? Now you know I didn't plan for that. This is almost empty. We'll put the rest of these here. And that big onion fell out. Well, this is the dish, and yes, it is warm, but I'm looking forward to trying it. This is my version of my mom's broccoli casserole. When we come back, I'll be ready to sample. So you hold tight. I'll let you know how this tastes. I'm glad to see you guys back today. Today, I have a real surprise for you. I am honored to welcome into my kitchen Mr. Cyrus Webb. Cyrus Webb is a publicist. He's a radio and TV personality. He's an author. He's a top Amazon influencer who has built a brand on honesty, integrity, vision, leadership, and expectation. So please join me as I welcome Cyrus Webb into my kitchen today. Welcome, Cyrus.
Hello, Dr. Taz, and thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Well, I am just honored to have you with me. I know you personally. You're my publicist, and folks, so you shouldn't tell that, but it doesn't give me an edge up. I'm being real transparent. He is tough on me. And when I thought about how I would approach my conversation with Cyrus, I thought about many different things because he is such a multifaceted individual. But I landed on visionary, a leader, someone who has expectations not only for himself, but for those that he works with, and then our community and world at large. And so when I thought about those three words, integrity and honesty came to mind. And those are attributes that I think are so needed in every aspect of an individual's life. So, Cyrus, I want us today to talk about who you are, but with those three words being the way that we wrap everything together and put it in a nice little package. So, I want to start with visionary. Now, I know that you're from Mississippi,
Mhm.
and I hope I said it correctly, Mississippi. And not only are you from Mississippi, you are a proud Mississippian.
Mhm.
I don't think I know anyone who is as proud of their state as you are. You could live anywhere in the world, but you choose to stay in your home state. And everything that you do, you talk about Mississippi and how important it is. And it's so transparent in everything. So you're from Mississippi. I'm gonna say a small town boy. That's probably not quite true, but
Yeah,
small town boy.
it is.
And but you do so much all across the world. How did that vision take place in your heart that ignited all that has now come since?
Hmm. That is a great question. And I have to say, the vision was not always mine, to be honest with you. You're very, very right. I am very proud of being a Mississippian. And the reason why I talk about it so much is because we get such a bad rap and people have such a negative connotation when they think of Mississippians, still walking around barefoot and no airport. I mean, I literally have people asking, do you guys have an airport? Do you have this? And I want people to know that if I can make it from where I come from, that you can make it literally from anywhere. But for myself, as far as the vision goes, Dr. Taz, I think there were people who saw it in me before I even saw it in myself. My grandmother is one. My mother. I had teachers who would see great things in me, and you and I have talked about my suicide attempts came not from any negativity or bullying or anything, but because I didn't think I could live up to the greatness that other people saw in me. So it's interesting to hear you ask me that question because I had what it really connected with, to be quite honest with you, was realizing that God truly is almighty and that he can use anyone he wants to, that he can make them do anything that he wants them to do from anywhere in the world. In fact, about his own son, it was said, can anything good come out of Galilee?
Mm.
And when I embraced that at the age of 20, that, you know what, by not accepting what I can do, I'm really questioning God's power because God can do anything. He can use anybody. Doesn't mean I'm great, but he can do great things through me. And so that is what helped me to embrace the vision, was when I realized that I was putting limitations on God and he's limitless.
Mm. And that's powerful, putting limitations on God when he's limitless.
Mhm.
Now, once you understood that, how did you then take the vision and and I use the word leadership because I'm an educator, but how did you take that vision and then put the fire under it, and then I shouldn't say the fire, excuse me, start the fire in order to make it a reality?
So it came from two things. One thing about me is I grew up being a hard worker. I tell people that I never saw myself as a leader. That's the funny thing. I was just always a hard worker, which is why I think I translate today to working the way I do, because I realize that every day you have to grunt like you are the low man on the totem pole. Because in actuality, you always are. There's always someone there jockeying for your spot. There's someone there waiting for you to give up, to become lax. And so I understood that walking in faithfulness is a daily job. If you want to be fit for this thing called life, you can't take days off from that. Now, it doesn't mean that you cannot have a life. I've chosen to make this my life and part of my ministry. But it does mean that you have to take this seriously. You can't play with it. You can't want the benefits of success and not do the work that success takes. And that's one of the things I realized early on, was that if I wanted to be all the great things that God meant for me to be, I had to do my part in it. He was going to do his part. I had to wake up, show up every day and do my part.
And I like the fact that you're really talking about putting faith in action, and you are real big on doing the work. I was looking at one of your posts recently, and you put, the life you have been given is a gift meant to be appreciated and shared. Don't take it for granted. The light that it generates is inside of you. It's up to you to let it shine. And when I read that, I immediately thought about doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what you're saying, do the work. You say it multiple ways because we have to hear it in different ways. But it's really about doing the work. And what is, and I'm going to butcher the quote, but what faith without actions, I think that's the quote. But basically, you have the faith, but you have to then ignite the faith and do the work. So you understood that you had to work hard in order to attain the success that you wanted. It wasn't just going to be handed to you. Now, after understanding that, we've got the vision. And as you said, you didn't really have the vision initially. It was inside of you, but it took your grandmother, your mom, and teachers to really help bring that vision forward. And then you had to wrestle with it because that brought a lot of expectations.
Right.
And as you said, your suicide attempts was not from bullying, but the fear of not being able to live up to the expectations that others had for yourself.
Yeah.
My question is, how did you make the transition from the fear of not meeting their expectation to actually meeting your expectation for yourself?
Now that is an interesting thing, because the funny thing that I realized, and this is, my name, the name Cyrus means anointed one, the shining one. And it's so interesting. I knew once I started, I knew I would win. That's the funny thing. I have never feared failure. I knew that if I did my part, it was already done. The winning was already done. So my thing was, and this goes to the way I was raised, letting other people see the same was true for them. And that is what I think separates me and so many people, because I've never felt like I had to be the only one. I never felt like if I succeed, that means I have to knock people down, beat people up, tear them down verbally, physically. That I heard in one of the people I follow online for business is Gary Vee, and he said the difference in him and other people, some people think you have to tear other people's buildings down to be the tallest building. He said, I just choose to build a bigger building. It's not about what someone else chooses to do. And so what I realized was my fullness, my success was really going to be in how many people I pushed toward their own fullness and success.
Now, Cyrus, I'm taking notes, but I got a chill there. Now, the audience, you guys will understand soon when I say I get a chill. Your success is grounded in the success of others.
Mm-hmm.
The chill came because I thought about Christ.
Yeah.
He came into this world so that we could have life and have it more abundantly. That's the way I was taught as a child. But basically, he came so that we could have an opportunity, because if not, sin would overtake us. So when you say that your success is grounded in others' success, just like with the gentleman, Gary Vee, basically you're saying, and you correct me, you knew that you were always going, you weren't going to fail.
Right.
So is it, or was it, how do I marry my vision, my leadership, and my expectations for others? Or how do I package that so that I'm helping them to progress, so that I'm actually meeting my purpose? Because you said that you're supposed to bring other people along,
Yeah. Yeah.
which can be difficult.
Right. I felt like Moses. You know how Moses was told that you're going to lead these people? And Moses said, well, I don't speak very well.
Mhm.
What have you thought about my brother Aaron? And the reason why I compare myself to the Moses complex was I've never said I was the best looking, the most intelligent, the most well spoken. I've never said I was the best. But you're going to be hard pressed to outwork me. And Moses was a person, even though his zeal got him in trouble at times, even before he was called, he was a person that was about action. And I knew that about myself. I was a person about action. Now, Moses did not see himself as the leader. And that was where I made the connection with Moses.
Mhm.
I knew I could work hard. I knew I could help other people win, but I've never been the person, ironically, who had to be out front. My purpose has pushed me out front, but I'm just as happy rallying for you, cheering for you, and pushing you towards your thing because I feel just as good about that. Paul said, the runners in the race all run, but only one attains the prize, but you run as if you're going to get it. I just know as long as I showed up and ran, that's why I said I knew I was going to win in whatever capacity that I was in. So it wasn't for me even about a title or trying to be the leader of or the CEO of. It was just about being the best of me. And I knew if I could be the best of me and show other people how they could be the best of themselves, then we would all be winners.
But now, Cyrus, the best of you, how do you measure that?
Yeah. And that is the relative thing. And that's why I'm so glad, Dr. Taz, that I did not drink the Kool-Aid of what success looks like. Because people will say to me, well, you should be living here, or you should be driving here, driving this. And I would expect you to have, and I would say to them, why? I don't want that.
Mhm.
But in their mind, because of what the world tells them, that's how you show your success. I show my success by opening up my mouth. I don't need something to tell me that I'm successful. I know who I am. I wake up knowing I'm Cyrus Webb. I go to bed knowing I'm Cyrus Webb. I don't need a car outside or a house somewhere to tell me, oh, you're Cyrus Webb. So I think that's where so many people get caught up in how they miss the boat because they are successful, but because it's not what the world tells them it should be, they feel as though they're lacking. What I try to get people to see is if you gave your best today, you won. You won. That is success. If you can honestly say that you went to that job and dusted the best you could dust, checked out people to the best of your ability, that you went out there to mow that grass. My dad is a landscaper, a proud landscaper of over 30 years. If you can say you did that to the best of your ability, you're a winner.
Cyrus, you're right. And years ago, I there was a sermon, and I came out at my church, and I came out with this idea: be the best of whatever you are.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what your job is, and we know in this day and age, every person is important on the job. Whether it is the custodian, it's the landscaper, it's the receptionist. We couldn't work without every person doing their part. And you're right. I always say I don't measure my success by other people's barometer, because then I get typecast and I get paralyzed and I'm not able to move forward. So I love the fact that you know who you are and you don't feel that you have to be trapped by the trappings of what we, as most people would say, oh, this is success. If you drive this car, you live here. But let me tell you, when you said, I am Cyrus Webb, I go to bed, knowing that I'm Cyrus Webb. I wake up knowing that I'm Cyrus Webb. I could hear the confidence.
Yeah.
I don't know if the audience could hear it, and I talk to you all the time, but I could hear it. And to know who you are is so important, regardless of what type of work you do. But
Yeah.
to be secure in who you are. It was loud and clear. I'm Cyrus Webb.
Yeah.
I'm Cyrus Webb. I'm Cyrus Webb when I go to bed. I'm Cyrus Webb at midday. I'm Cyrus Webb when I get up in the morning. It's
Yeah.
clear. And I think that type of confidence, that type of intrinsic motivation, because you know who Cyrus Webb is. And everything that you do is to make sure that Cyrus Webb still remains the person that he is to you.
Yeah.
And you live in Mississippi,
Mm-hmm.
because that keeps Cyrus Webb secure.
Yeah. And when you said that, it made me think about something else, Dr. Taz. Because I know I'm Cyrus Webb, I know I'm not trying to be Dr. Taz. I'm not trying to be Gary Vee. I'm not trying to be Oprah or Tavis Smiley or Michael Basin.
Mm-hmm.
They have that covered. You have that covered. Anytime you're trying to be anything other than who you were meant to be, you're an imposter, which means you don't know who you are. You're whatever it takes for that moment. If you're driving something because someone tells you this is what success looks like, you're an imposter. I live the life I live because this is who I am. I'm cheap. And I am me, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And I think that's where my happiness comes from. That's where the joy that people see in me, that is not an act that you see from 8 to 5. That is who I am, because this is what I live. And I heard a quote back in 1993, Dr. Taz. I was a junior in high school. And the quote, it stood with me, even though I have to admit, I didn't truly understand it at the time. It stayed playing in my mind. Be the person you want others to think you are, and you never pretend a day in your life. I heard that quote, and I thought, that is really something. And when I sat down and thought about it, if we truly are the person that we want to portray to other people, we are then living an authentic life. When you start having to think about the person you want others to think you are, that's when you know you're an imposter. But because I know who I am, and this is who I am from the time I get up to the time I go to bed, I am living a truly authentic life.
Now, for the audience, this is my new thing. You pay $500 for that quote and that piece of advice. Sometimes I'll inflate it and say it's $1,000, but I'm serious about that. Be the person
you want others to think you are, and you'll never pretend a day in your life.
Because that is so deep.
That is very deep. And I heard that when I was 17 years old as a junior in high school. And it stood with me because it was so powerful to me. I didn't fully understand it at 17, because again, I would try to kill myself again before I was 20. But the fact that I remember that quote now, all those years later, I think about that sometimes when things happen in my life, that the important thing is not what people think. It's about who you are, because who you are is what's going to stand at the end of the day.
Now, you have lots of ventures, but what you just said is the reason why I'm doing this show, because you can't live your life based upon what others think and what others believe, because you're not happy. Yeah. And lots of us, through no fault of our own, it's the way we socialize. It's maybe we didn't know any better. We didn't think things could shift, but we go down that path and we're unhappy. Yeah. And when you try to back up, it's like people look at you like, I know they didn't do that. It looks like it's a radical decision, but it's not. It's about being your authentic person. And as I tell people, you may go that path again, but not right now. Because at some point, we have to become secure enough in ourselves that we're willing to live our life for ourselves, not for other people. And when I think about all that you do, that's what you embody. As you told us, what we see when we see you on social media, if we see you on Amazon, the Roku, all the different places, ABC News Network. When we hear you or we see you, it is truly you.
Yeah.
And you're happy.
I am. I had somebody just days ago at the grocery store saw me out because I'm fully vaccinated, so I don't wear my mask in the grocery store. but
Okay,
someone saw me and they said, "Are you Cyrus?" And I said, "Yeah." They said, "You seem just like you seem online," and that to me was the oddest thing to me because I thought, and all I could say was thank you. But afterwards, I thought, what else am I going to be? I mean, this is truly me. Now, I get it that not everybody is like that. I get that. But because this is who I've been the last 25 years of my life, at least, I've been in the public now since 99. This has always been who I am, So, but the fact that they said that, well, for one, it was a compliment to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always tell people, call me out on my stuff. If you see me not walking my talk, I want you to call me out on that because you should. I mean, none of us are perfect. We all, can trip up. But if you see me acting brand new, you need to call me on that and say, "Hey, Cyrus, what happened?" And that's what I appreciate about people who do follow me, because the me that they start following, Dr. Taj, when I came on the scene, is the same me. It's gotten a little bigger, but of the same person, and that is to me a testament of living authentically.
Well, now, Cyrus, for those of us, now you've told us, but you got to tell us in a different way. You have to talk to us, talk plain, as a friend of mine says all the time, talk plain. If I was going to quote Denzel and Tom Hanks movie, talk to me like I'm a 2-year-old. Because you've mastered this, but it took a little while for you to master it. Help us to master it. Give us a couple of steps, because we want to be authentic. Sometimes we're afraid, and sometimes we just don't know, or either we don't know who we are.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of a Julia Roberts movie. I think it's Runaway Bride. And, she would get to the altar, and every time it was time for her to get married, she'd run out the church. And we find out eventually in the movie that she didn't even know what type of eggs she liked, because whomever she was dating, she would then adapt to that person, and that would become who she was. So for some people, it may be that they don't even know themselves, so they don't even know how to start living that authentic life.
Yeah. So it starts with those 3 words then, Dr. Taz. Who am I? Who am I? And then the follow-up to that is, who do I want to be? Now, they may be the same answer. When you ask yourself, who am I? And if that is the person that you are comfortable with, is that when you ask yourself, who do I want to be? Maybe it's just a better version of that person. For myself, it all began with understanding that not just who I was, but who I was created to be. Because I think a lot of times those two things are not the same.
Mm-hmm.
I think, we know that we are meant for more. Now, some people, and I mentioned earlier, I'm not afraid of failure. If something happens in my life, I tell people this, I may have even said it to you. Look, if my business started floundering today, I would go and get that part-time job at a grocery store. I would go and do night audit. I would go and sweep and do whatever I need to do to take care of myself and my family, because my identity is not tied to a position.
Mm-hmm.
My identity is tied to being authentic. And being authentic means I have to take care of myself and my responsibilities. Now, I've been fortunate in the past 18 years to do that running my own business. But if that happened to change today, my life is not over. I pivot to what I need to do. Now, it doesn't mean I give up on the vision. Okay. And so I think that's where a lot of people mess up. They think, oh, well, that didn't work 15 years ago. Well, okay, maybe it wasn't time. I've had things happen in my professional career that didn't turn out the way I thought they would turn out. But I mean, it was wrong. It just wasn't the right time, or it wasn't with the right person, or the right outlet. I think about that more so than I'm not supposed to do something. Because if you started on a path, there's a reason why you started on that path. And hopefully it's because something spoke to you on that path that said, this is who you are. This is what you want to do. Now, again, everything is not going to happen perfectly. But I think when you start asking yourself, who am I? And then who do I want to be? That's going to help you to then build a framework to what it takes to get there.
And you mentioned pivot. Now, we're coming out of COVID. How did you pivot last year?
Well, let me say this. If I'm being truly transparent, my pivot was mentally.
Okay.
My business almost doubled last year. So I had to mentally grapple with that. And that success is a very difficult thing for me. And that's what's so weird about my life. And I've wrote about this. I've talked about this publicly. Success is what scares me, because I know what happens to people who get a taste of that kind of power and influence. And that's really what it is. You mentioned in the introduction, my being an influencer, even though I know that's what I am, hearing that word, that holds so much weight for me because I understand what comes with it. And I take that responsibility very, very seriously. So for myself, the pivot was really mentally telling myself, it's okay. You're doing great, and that's okay. Don't feel bad because you're doing well. And that was hard for me to, in fact, there were things I didn't do because I knew where it was going to take me. And I know, again, for some people that sounds crazy, but when you come from a very humble place, when you're told to not focus so much on money or power or, all of this stuff, you start looking at stuff differently. Like, I've never been a person who's been about stuff. Even in the time you've known me, Dr. Tosh, I'm not that guy. I'm just not that guy at all. So having access to a lot of stuff is scary to me, because again, I understand the responsibility that comes with that. And that is something, again, that I'm very careful with. So for me, 2020 reminded me that I was not only where I was supposed to be, but that it was only the beginning. And that's what I had to mentally prepare myself for. That you ain't seen nothing yet. And 2021 has proven that to be the case for me, because of the things that have now expanded even this year. So that was the pivot for me. It wasn't, my family was good. I lost some friends, unfortunately, to COVID, and, went through that. But for myself, it was really about adjusting to the fact that as well as things were at the time, they were only going to get bigger.
And that is such a, I understand your reasoning, Cyrus, because I think about the celebrities who start out in the business, and some of them, they're children. And so they're getting all this notoriety, they have the money, they have the fame, they have the material things, but their emotional growth or their intellectual growth doesn't keep up with it. And so they're not able to successfully navigate it. And sometimes they look to other things to help them to deal with some of the pressures that come with that type of success. So when you talk about success is something that's fearful for you, and that you even turned down a couple of things last year because you knew how that would sort of propel you, and you were not ready for that.
Right.
But I think that that's key, though, because even though you turned down some things, your business still continued to grow.
Yeah. And that's why I believe, Dr. Taj, that we can be our own worst enemies for the good and bad, right? So some people will hear what I just said and say, that makes absolutely no sense. And I understand that. I understand that because to them, the more the merrier, right? Yes. I understand, like Biggie says, my money, more problems.
Yes.
Yes. And the thing is, and it's not even about the dollar amount, but it's about what comes with that. What has happened with me and my relationship with Amazon, I never could have imagined when I wrote a first book review back in 2010 that I would now be one of the top influencers on the largest online retailer in the world. I mean, that is something I never could have seen coming. And when it started happening, it scared me.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know if you remember, Dr. Taz, in March when the pandemic was of 2020, when I had that UPS truck of boxes. Remember, I had that picture of the boxes,
Yeah.
and I was like, "What in the world is happening? We're in the middle of a pandemic. What is going on?" You
Yeah.
know. But I didn't see they were setting me up for this year. I didn't see it though, because it's not the way my mind works. My mind doesn't work. Oh, you know, there's some, because I'm thinking, okay, the world's shutting down, but I didn't see they were preparing me for this next chapter. And it took me 8 months to figure it out because the boxes didn't stop coming. The stuff, the offers didn't stop coming. But I was like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be doing something else. It had to really, I had to get in my mind that this is okay. Yeah, there's some bad things happening, but it's okay. And again, I hope people looked at that and said, you know what? Yeah, 2020 was not the best year. But look at what Cyrus was able to do.
Yes.
And if he was able to do that from Mississippi, because I haven't left Mississippi since March of 2020, I've been literally in the state. And that's unusual. I was traveling every month.
Yes.
So if I could do all I've done in the past 15 months from right here in Mississippi,
Mhm.
I hope that encourages somebody else.
Well, Cyrus, I think that it does. And I remember those packages. And I know that even as the packages were coming and you were showing the photos, it really didn't, I'm on this birthing thing, 8 months, 9 months, it's a baby.
Yeah.
It's a project too. It's a new idea. It's something that we've worked on and it comes to fruition. And I think about last year, at that point in time, I wasn't aware, hadn't even thought about, I don't even know if Amazon was doing this at the time. And maybe it came out of the pandemic, having the shows that are on there now, that are live, that are streaming. It may have come through all of that they were seeing the need and feeling that need. And I think about your packages, you were getting ready for one thing, but still trying to wrap your brain around, well, are we going to still go on with this? We're in the middle of a pandemic. And you think about it now, well, why not?
Yeah.
People needed that more then than they did 5 years ago because we weren't in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah. Let me tell you what's so funny about what you just said. You just said something that did not compute with me in March 2020. They had reached out about this new beta program they were doing last year. But because of everything that was going on, I had forgotten about it and didn't even sign up for it. But they were intending on me being a part of it. That's why the packages would come. But see, I didn't put two and two together. You just put it together quicker than my little mind. because I was like, why are they sending me all this stuff? I didn't even realize they were doing it for my show for Amazon. I didn't even realize it at the time. But you see how perspective is different. You saw it just in this little without me even saying that's what. Because when it first started reaching out about March about this, I was like, what is all this stuff? What am I supposed to do? And I'm like, I can redo it, not knowing that's exactly what they wanted. But because my mind doesn't work that way of thinking, oh, how can I take the most advantage out of this? So, I wasn't even thinking on those lines. But that's why I tell people I'm glad I'm me. Because I embrace things, but I don't try to make everything about me. Like in March 2020, I wasn't thinking, how can I best use this opportunity? I wasn't even thinking that. But again, that's a great thing about living a life of faith. Someone saw something else, once again, like in my life growing up, that I didn't even see myself at the time. And it set me up perfectly now for what's happening in 2021.
Cyrus, I could talk with you forever. and would love to keep you right in the kitchen with me at the countertop as I cook my dishes. But I think I want us to, in this conversation, on the point that you just said, embrace things, but don't make it about you.
Mhm.
Because that sounds so simple. But that's one of those quotes that you've got to get it in your mind first and understand what you're saying, and then get it in your heart. Or either some people say, no, I got to get it in my heart first and then my mind, whichever way it goes. But you've got to get that in multiple places to
Yeah.
truly understand it. Because what you're saying is, I'm embracing, for my people who use this language, I'm embracing the universe
Mhm.
and all the goodness there is. But I understand that when I embrace it, it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about the good that I can then bring to the universe.
And realizing that that's the whole reason why you have it,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
our gifts are not for us,
No.
and now that I knew that part.
Mm-hmm.
But what I have had to learn is there's nothing wrong with success.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible doesn't say there's anything wrong with money. The Bible says the love of money. And
Mm-hmm.
that is what I had to, in my mind, get. Success is not bad.
Yeah.
Influence is not bad. It's the way you use success. It's the way you
Yeah.
use influence. That is bad. And that is why I've had to now, that's why I tell people not all money is good money.
Yes.
And, not all situations are good situations.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you having a title or having prestige, but what are you using that for? And if you can, again, not lose yourself in the process, then you can be able to be a witness to somebody else as to what's possible for them.
And Cyrus Webb, I am Cyrus Webb. I'm Cyrus Webb when I wake up in the morning.
Mhm.
I'm Cyrus Webb at noonday. I added that one. I'm Cyrus Webb when I go to bed at night. And I'm Cyrus Webb when I wake up early in the morning, for those who know what time Cyrus Webb's back up again.
Right.
I am Cyrus Webb.
Yeah.
And I use the influence that I have for the good of mankind. And
And if I
Cyrus,
add one thing to that, Dr. Taz, my intent is to do that. And because I never want to take for granted I'm going to automatically do it.
Mhm.
And that is the big thing for me. And people who in my circle know I'm all about being intentional. And so I never want to just take for granted that I'm going to do it. It's work, because people will try to push you to this. Oh, you could do this, you could do that. But I wake up with the intent of always using that influence right.
And being authentic, which
Yeah.
helps you to balance out the influence
Right.
that you have.
Right. Exactly.
And I got to say this, Cyrus, because I hear it in my head, and some people will get it. I'm a country girl, guys. Not getting above your raisin. But
Mhm.
I think what they meant by that, Cyrus, was when I used to hear that as a little girl. I think they meant don't lose your value system.
Yes, I agree.
Don't lose your value system, because that's basically what's keeping you authentic.
Yeah.
It's your values.
Yeah.
You're in Mississippi because that you love Mississippi, but it's the values. It keeps you grounded. And that helps you to be intentional.
And I still have my conscience. And
Yes.
and that conscience, my grandmother, definitely one of the greatest gifts that she gave me. I remember having a dream about her after she died. And she said to me in the dream, "You're going to be great, but just don't get the big head." And I think about that a lot,
Mhm.
because that could so easily happen.
Yes.
Look at Nebuchadnezzar. He was king one day eating grass and eggs.
Yes. Yes.
The fall is real. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I'm very aware of the fact that to whom much is given, much is required. And I just try to be able to use what I've been given the right way.
Well, this has been a masterclass on vision, leadership, expectation, integrity, honesty, intentionality. because you can't have all of that without being intentional and being authentic. So, Mr. Cyrus Webb, I am Cyrus Webb, my
Yes.
friend, my publicist. Thank you so much for coming and spending some time with me in my kitchen, where we have been chatting about how to live an authentic life and how to grow into the person that you want to be and how to balance success with who you are. Because again, a lot of people feel they have to give up that part of themselves in order to have success. And you're very successful in your own right, and you have maintained who you are at your core. And I applaud you for that. And I applaud you for the lessons that you have given to our audience today. And of course, you got to come back, Cyrus.
I would love to. And let me just say congratulations to you on all of your successes and all the great things that you are doing to show people how they can be stronger, pun intended there, to your book. And I think, just continue to walk in your own greatness. You're definitely making a difference.
But thank you so much, Cyrus. And Cyrus, I'm going to take this. This is how you do it. So I'm going to borrow this from you. Now, how can people stay in contact with you?
I've made it very easy. CyrusWebb.com, Cyrus Webb on Facebook and Twitter, and Cyrus Webb Presents on Instagram. Would love to. And I'm one of these people, you follow me, I follow back. You talk to me, I talk back. So definitely come and let's have a conversation.
All righty then. Thank you so much, Cyrus Webb. Until next time, thank you. And we're back. I just called Mama in the interim. I told her to hold right on. I have put together my mom. She's on speaker. Hey, Mama, speak to the people.
Hello, how are you?
They say they good, Mama. They say they good, Mama. I moved the phone a little bit closer. Let me tell you what I did, Mom. I did your broccoli casserole, except I had some of Daddy's broccoli, and I used a lot of cheese mixtures. I did half a block of mozzarella, half a block of sharp cheddar. I added some ricotta, and I sauteed my onions, put all that together, added a little garlic, or added a little onion powder and black pepper, of course. And I did put just a little bit of salt in my water when I steeped or blanched the broccoli. And so I've got everything assembled. And then what I did was I took some veggie wheat thins and I crumbled them up in my processor. And a couple of them were not crumbled, but that was good. That makes it be legit. And then I put that on top and I mixed it with the fried onion. So I'm getting ready now to scoop out some, because this is basically a dish that's already done. It doesn't have to be baked in the oven. You can put it, oop, you see that fell on the floor, people? This is real. This is action, live action. Now let me tell you something. I shouldn't tell it, but I done started salivating. I just don't know how this is gonna taste. I just can't believe I started salivating. You know how they know what I mean. So I'm getting out a fork now, and I'm going to see just how this tastes. Understanding, folks, that nothing ever tastes as good as Mama, but I'm tasting this, Mama.
Okay.
Now, Mama, this is good. This is good, Mama. Ooh, you know how the baby kick their legs? I done got to kick in my foot. This is good. This is really good. Not too much salt. Just enough pepper. Just enough, this is good. Just enough onions, just enough garlic powder. And I will say this, guys. Normally I get my onions a little softer, but I didn't. So my onions are not crunchy, but they're not soft. So that gives me another level of texture. So between the onions that I sauteed, the wheat thins, the veggies, and then the fried onions, and then the broccoli was blanched just perfectly. This is good, Mama. Now I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna save you some. I'm gonna have to come home so you can taste some of this stuff, cause
I have tasted that.
this is good. And it's
Are you trying to say it's better?
yes, Mama.
Almost as good as mine.
Well, again, nothing's ever gonna be as good as Mama, but this is a healthier version of yours, Mother.
Okay.
This is a healthier version because I've got mozzarella, I've got ricotta cheese. So therefore, and I do have, for those people who got to see orange, I do have some cheddar, but it balances everything out. This is really good. So on that note, Mama, I got to run. We'll have to holler at you next time. Gotta run. So I'll talk to you later. All righty.
Okay then.
Bye, Mama.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. This is good. And let me tell you, I've made it before. And I really didn't make it low fat. I thought I did, but I didn't. The ricotta and using that mozzarella cheese really makes it healthier. And I like this better than the version that I made the last time I made it. So, now you see what happens when you over prepare. So I've got some more cheese sauce. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna come back and we're gonna make another side because I'm not gonna let that cheese sauce go to waste. So you just hold tight. In our last segment, I made my mom's broccoli casserole and I changed it around a little bit. Remember, we put a little ricotta cheese, but I had cheese sauce left over. So I thought, you've got cheese sauce, you've got noodles, you know I'm going with macaroni and cheese. So while you guys have been waiting, I've been in the kitchen making macaroni and cheese. So I have cooked a pot of macaroni. I will tell you, these are protein macaroni. Because I'm always trying to get my protein in. That's my life. Let's get protein in. And so we've got the macaroni. I set it on that hot eye and it was going to stick a little bit, but we got it. So I've got my macaroni noodles here and I have my cheese sauce. So what I'm going to do is, the handle is a little warm, I'm going to go ahead and mix this together. Now, you can do it however you want to, but I'm just going to mix it in this pot. And I guess you said she just didn't wait any time. Now, you know, while you guys were off getting caught up on the latest tea, I had to make a little more cheese sauce because even though I had some left over, you know it was not enough for macaroni and cheese because I am Southern. So I added the other block, or half a block of mozzarella. I added the other half of the extra sharp cheddar cheese. And, you know, I had a little of my Italian blend left over, so I threw that in. And of course, I added the ricotta. This cheese base also had a little of the, not a little, it had some of the remnants of the cream of mushroom soup also. So I've added some salt. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do it the way I would normally do it, which may not be the way that the chefs would tell you to do this on the Food Network, but we're not on the Food Network yet. This is the way I'm going to do it. And I'm hoping I don't have too much, but if I do, I'll just do another dish. We're going to pour this macaroni and cheese in here, and it's looking cheesy. Now, it's not looking as yellow or as orange as some of my Southern sisters and brothers might like. But I can tell you, it's got some kind of cheese in here. It's got its cheese. And it's smelling good. So I'm going to pour this in. Yay! It's a perfect fit. I don't have extra. I'm so happy. So, it smells good. So put that there. And so what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to, oh yeah, this is going to be good. I can tell this is going to be real cheesy. You know, when you, oh yeah, this is going to be good. I guess you think, I almost want to do a jig now. This is going to be good, I can tell. So what I'm doing here is just kind of spreading it out. And because it is macaroni and cheese, and when I say macaroni and cheese, because like I said, I'm a Southern girl, it has to be baked. There's just no other macaroni and cheese. So I'm going to put my egg white. And I'm adding the egg white. This is a fourth of a cup. You guys know I love a fourth of a cup egg white. I'm putting this in. See if I'm gonna put it all in here. I may not put it all because this is kind of tight. I'm not gonna put all of it in there. And if it doesn't hold it, we're gonna just say it wasn't supposed to be but so tight. And sometimes you don't want it tight. Tight anyway. So I put the egg white instead of an egg because I now need to tighten up the macaroni and cheese. So we've got this here, and you know, I'm always thinking as I'm cooking. I tell you, I'm always wanting to add something, but I won't. I tell you, it sure would have been nice if I had just a little bit of smoked paprika, but I think what I'm going to do is put it on it when I bring this out of the oven. So here I am. I am putting the last of a Fiesta blend that I had left over from another dish, because I want to have some cheese on top, and I thought this would be the perfect one because it will give me some of that yellow, which, you know, will make them think you're eating cheddar. It's not like cheddar's a mess, but it'll be good. It'll fit right in. Oh, I've started whispering again, haven't I? I'm sorry. You know how it is when you're doing something good and you don't want people to know what you're doing with it. So here it is. I'm going to now just pour the rest of this on here, and we're going to try to smooth it out. Oh, I know some of it hit the floor. That's okay. So now I've already preheated my oven to 350. I'm going to put this in for maybe about 20 minutes and maybe 25. I will know when it's ready because the egg white will set. And that's all we're really doing now is cooking the egg so that it tightens up the macaroni and cheese. So we're going to put this in the oven. On 350. And we will check on it in just a little bit and see what our baked macaroni and cheese is looking like. I'll be back in just a bit. Well, we're back. I just removed the baked macaroni and cheese from the oven. I haven't tried it. I do believe our egg whites are done. We're hoping. I added some smoked paprika on the top while the cheese was melting. I just felt like I needed to have a little slight smokiness to this macaroni and cheese. So what I'm going to do is, I thought since it was macaroni and cheese, don't get the serving spoon, just get a regular tablespoon. Now, of course, this has, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, but the way the spoon goes down in it. Now, understand, this has not had a chance to really set, and when I bring this little chunk out, you're going to understand what I mean. It's going to be smoky. Do you see that steam? You see that cheese? Now I'm gonna get a little more just for the camera's sake so that y'all can feel like y'all are here with me. So I'm gonna scoop. Ooh, this does smell good too. This is what you call homemade macaroni and cheese. Got that yellow. Ooh, this is good. I hope I can remember how I put this recipe together, but since I did it on camera, I believe I'll be able to figure it out because this is good. This is the first time I've done this. As I said, sometimes you have to change things in stride. So, you see the steam rising off of this macaroni and cheese now. It smells good. I'm going to eat around the perimeter because you see it is hot. Try to bring some of this perimeter with the cheese because it's hot. Okay. Every time I start whispering, I don't know why. Let me talk in my big girl's voice, but I just started whispering. I just be so excited. Oh, back daddy, family. Oh, back daddy, family. This is good. This is good. Ain't nothing like macaroni and cheese. I can't really explain this. This is good. Try not to eat it all, but this is good. It smells good. You smell the cheddar because I gotta get homage to cheddar, but the ricotta, the mozzarella, and I put some remnants of the Fiesta blend on the top. This is good. This is good. I hope you can't hear me chewing too loud, but this was good. And of course it had that cream of mushroom soup. So you got the little bit of mushrooms here. And of course, because I used this cheese from my other side dish, it has onions in there. So when I say this is good, this is good. And believe it or not, a little piece like I had, that first little piece, is healthy because mostly, partially skim milk because it is mozzarella in here. So I'm gonna take one more bite and then I'm gonna put this away. This is good. And take a rest of a bite right here. Then we're gonna wrap this up. My God, this is good. It's good. This macaroni and cheese did not, well, it started out this way, but this was new for me because I had leftover cheese sauce and I thought I can't waste it. So I got macaroni and cheese, I got macaroni rather, in the pantry, pull it out, add the rest of the cheese. This is a winner. This is what we do with Transform with Taz. We take those favorite recipes and we redo them so that they are a healthier version. Now somebody may say that macaroni and cheese is not that healthy, but it's healthier than what it would have been. I will tell you this, when I put my extra cheese in there, I had to add a little milk. And I added my milk, and my milk is protein enriched. So we got protein noodles, we got milk that's protein, and of course milk is protein anyway, but it's more enriched. And we've got the mozzarella cheese, and don't forget the ricotta, and the onions, and a few mushrooms. So that's really a lot of protein. So it helps to balance out some of the other cheese. I have enjoyed sharing this recipe with you. This is what we do with Transform with Taz. We take those recipes that we love, those dishes, and we change them. We want them to be good. We want to taste good, like I want to do a little dance with this. This is good. But we want a healthier version of it. So if you have got a recipe that you would like for me to tinker with, send that recipe to me. Send it to me at transformwithtaz@gmail.com. Put recipe in the subject line. Make sure you give me your first name, last name, and the recipe. And don't forget to tell me the city and state, because I might do a holler out to you when I do your recipe with my audience. And you just never know what might happen. But this is good. I gotta go, because I really want to eat some more macaroni and cheese. I just can't. Transform with Taz. We're going to transform our body, and we're going to transform our soul. With one recipe at a time, and one interview at a time. Until next time, take care of you.